Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for TWiT specials is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is a TWiT Live special, episode 42, recorded October 20th, 2010. Back to the Mac. We'd like to welcome you to our live coverage of Apple's Back to the Mac event. Apple has invited, a week ago, journalists, the press, to come to its One Infinite Loop Town Hall, which is a very small auditorium, I think about 350 people at Apple's campus. The invitation included a picture of the Apple logo with a lion peering out from behind it, and the invitation said, "Back to the Mac." So there's quite a bit of speculation that, in fact, Apple will be showing an OS X version called Lion. You also saw, we saw last night in Gadget and Gizmodo reporting that an Apple forums have been created for a couple of new products.
3 iLife forums, and then one called MBA, Product Name Needed. We're assuming MacBook Air is probably the thing that fits that.
Seems logical.
They've since changed the name of the forums to numbers. They realize they're.
I think it's pretty safe to say that we're due for an iLife.
Yeah, I don't think that's that's something they would throw. That's what we'll see first, would be my guess, because they always start with that stuff.
You're hoping for some hardware.
I would like a hardware refresh because I would like to buy a new one, and I'm not going to buy a new one until.
So you're saying wishful thinking.
I don't think it's out of the realm, because if you go to Mac Rumors, they've got their handy chart that shows the life cycle.
Yeah.
And the average time between MacBook Pros is about the time it's been since the last refresh and when they brought out the i5s and i7s.
Right. Breaking news coverage, as always, on TWiT Live is brought to you by our friends at Slingbox. We thank Slingbox for supporting breaking news coverage. Whenever you hear something big happening in the tech industry, we hope we can bring it to you live at live.twit.tv. And by the way, don't forget to use Slingbox to watch your favorite shows whenever you're away from home. Whether it's at the DMV, at the game, on the road, at a hotel, you can use a Mac laptop, a PC laptop, an iPhone, an iPod Touch with Wi-Fi, even a BlackBerry or Android to watch your home TV system using a Slingbox. To learn more, check out Slingbox at a Best Buy near you, or go to slingbox.com/twit.
Josh Topolsky says they're playing the Peanuts theme in the press room.
Don't hear any audio from the stream yet. In fact, all they're saying on the stream is, please check back shortly. Andy Ihnatko, are you there? Is Andy there, or is Alex Lindsay there?
Earth to Andy and Alex. Alex and Andy, come in.
Hoping to have both join us momentarily, but meanwhile, Tom Merritt and I think, can handle the heavy lifting. There's not a whole lot to do yet. I hear sound. I think
you hear something?
I hear the ringing of the Petaluma clock tower,
ringing
indicating
of the bells,
that it is, in fact, 10 o'clock. According to my clock, it's 9:59:30, so 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m.
Folks in the
Eastern.
chat room are saying they're hearing music on the stream. So,
oh, what am I doing wrong? Oh, what am I doing wrong?
Lights are lowering, according to the blogs. Maybe just refresh it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I didn't. It said come back. Come back soon. Hey, Andy.
Hello. Hello.
I hear him thumping around. So he will join us.
Steve Jobs takes the stage to lots of applause.
Why am I not seeing anything? Well, we'll watch the live blogs. That's
they blocked our IP address.
You know, it was only a matter of time. You can't use Chrome, it says.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Gee.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you,
just
Apple.
mean. I mean, really? Thanks for coming.
Can't use Chrome.
Fun stuff to share with you today.
All right. I'm moving to Safari.
There will be engineers who make the stuff demoing their products.
Okay, good. Becky will be able to go.
A long haul.
Becky will be able to. Oh, I was just assuming that meant.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
That meant a demo room. They can
That's
do the
probably
demo
what it
room.
means,
The last time I was at a town hall event, which was many moons ago, when they announced the Apple Hi-Fi.
Oh yeah, that was a big hit.
And the socks, the iPod socks. They did in fact have an upstairs.
The socks actually were a bigger hit than the Hi-Fi. Frankly,
they still sell the socks.
Yeah.
They don't sell the Hi-Fi anymore.
Tim Cook's going to talk about the state of the Mac. He's going to come out and give a little dance.
Yeah.
get down tonight.
I'm still getting, and even in Safari, I'm still getting this. I think they are blocking me. Isn't that fun?
Well, we do have the live blogs. We can do it the old way.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to get the VLC fired up and use that instead. How about that?
There we go. Oh, we got it on the. Eileen's got it on the iPad.
Oh, that's nice. We'll get it to you in a second. I guess this is Apple's way of saying no. You may not broadcast it. What is the VLC?
Mac made up 33% of Apple's revenue last year. That was $22 billion.
What is the VLC link? If anybody has that. Who is talking? Is it Tim Cook?
Tim Cook is now on stage giving
Tim Cook is the CFO.
State of the Mac. COO.
COO. Thank you.
So he's one of those letters.
He's a C-level guy.
He's not a CEO.
He's the guy who was nominated to replace Steve. Should Steve's
right. His
health not get better.
He's the Dick Cheney to Steve Jobs, George W. Bush.
So why don't you listen to your audio?
To my audio.
Oh, I guess I could do it on the.
Yeah, I don't have any. I can pull it up though. That's easy.
Yeah, why don't you pull it up? Maybe the stream's just a little slow. Andy, are you there?
Okay, Skype's screwing up again. I'm going to restart.
14 million Macs sold during fiscal 2010, 3 times as many as they sold 5 years ago. 50 million. That's just the stats part of the.
Yeah, we already know those because Apple had its quarterly earnings call on Monday, and what a shock, boy! What an amazing performance for Apple. 14.1 million iPhones. Not only more than they'd sold a year ago today, but the quarter before. Just a remarkable, and also giving lie to the.
Please check back soon.
You're getting the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not. Then I'm just not going to take it personally. It's also putting the lie to the people who said AntennaGate was going to be a big problem for Apple selling iPhone 4s. iPhone 4 is selling faster than any iPhone in history. 14.1 million. Mac sales, I think, somewhat strong. Although you've got to wonder if they're getting cannibalized a little bit.
Talking about how much the Mac grew in market share while the rest of the market receded.
Oh, I'm not on Snow Leopard. I guess I'm going to go to the iPad.
Well, this is Snow Leopard. It still isn't.
Can I get an audio jack?
Yeah, just take the spit from the room mic and
let's make this hot. And I'll pull it
that
up.
seems to work.
Then we'll at least be able to hear. They haven't said anything important yet, and of course there are live blogs. Everybody's live blogging. 600,000
registered Mac developers. Yeah, you're not missing much right now. You're missing the numbers game.
This is always the warm up. This is probably to give people like us
a chance.
This is
like the trailers before the movie starts.
I hear the audio now. Well, I'll tell you what. I think this is fair to split the baby and say we'll give you. Is that Steve coming on?
No, this is September 1st.
You're seeing the September 1st video?
Yeah, that wasn't even the current one.
Watch the keynote. Let me try it. Yeah, this says September 2010.
Okay.
So you went to the wrong link. You got to go to the.
Well, I went to watch the keynote off the front page.
Right. That was your mistake.
Yeah.
You want to click the link right below it, which is watch the keynote live. There's more than one keynote.
Watch a keynote.
Alex Lindsay is joining us now. Hey, Alex, where are you?
Hey, I am in an undisclosed location in Phoenix, Arizona.
We also have developers that we've worked with for a long time.
So we are now listening to the audio of Tim Cook talking about developers. I'd love it if he'd jump around like Steve Ballmer.
That's not going to happen.
We've coveted this app
shave his head and start jumping around.
Long time.
So, Alex, what do you expect?
And we couldn't be more.
I really think that we're going to see FaceTime. I think that it seems like it's really out of the loop. I think Lion coming in seems to be a reasonable expectation of some update to the OS. Update to the Air seems to be inevitable. Probably something a little bit smaller. Obviously, as a professional, what I'd love to see is updates to the towers, but we haven't heard anything about that so far. So, don't really know whether we're going to see anything there. But I would be excited, very excited, just to see FaceTime. I think for what we're doing, like what we're doing right now, being able to use your iPhone 4 and go straight to a computer would be a big thing for us.
Tom, did you want to make a bet on what we're going to see?
Yeah, sure. I'll bet on we'll see the first announcements of OS X Lion. we'll see an iLife refresh, and we'll see a MacBook Air model change, and a very minor refresh of the MacBook Pro line. Just spec changes.
So we're listening right now to Tim Cook with the numbers. You know, Consumer Reports loves us, you love us.
He says AutoCAD is coming to the Mac, which is...
Well, he talked about developers, and I think that's actually an old announcement. Isn't that, Alex?
Yeah, that's an old announcement. Autodesk has been doing a surprising amount of work, moving different applications to both the iPad and the Mac. They were very hardcore about not doing that only a couple of years ago.
Talked about Valve developing games directly for the Mac and the PC at the same time.
That's Steam, and we're really happy about that, I have to say, as a Mac user.
In New York.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about whether they're going to make any announcements about, like, possibly some of these new laptops being touchscreen. You know, I find myself wanting to touch screens all the time now.
I think Leo's right about that, which is we'll see that as part of OS 10.
The new OS 10, yeah. Andy Ihnatko joins us. Hi, Andy.
Hey, guys. I'm actually listening and watching as we go. Maybe specify actually check back in after the thing's over, huh?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I'm having a hard time
doing
one thing in one ear, one thing the other.
All right. You listen live, and we'll check back with you in an hour.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Andy.
International has brought us the second store in Paris. This is the
Not to harp on something that we keep on talking about, but it is interesting that, you know, the iPhone and iTouch and iPad events are done in downtown San Francisco and much larger venues, and they've chosen to keep the you know, back to the Mac, something that's a little bit more local, a little bit more intimate than.
Yeah, Town Hall is much smaller. I'm guessing 350 people.
I like to call it the hi-fi room.
It is, because the last time I was there, you were there with me, Alex. We saw the Apple Hi-Fi and iPod socks announced, and they had a great demo upstairs where they made a house with a living room and a bedroom, and everybody was listening to the Hi-Fi. That was the one where Steve Jobs famously said, "I'm throwing away my stereo system. This is so good." I hope he kept it.
He could afford to buy a new one.
I hope he kept it.
We still use our Hi-Fi. We have a Hi-Fi in the office. It's like the office sound system when we're setting up motion capture or green screen. It's useful in that.
Becky Worley has joined our chat room, which is great. She's actually live in the event. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to pull up some chat here as well.
You know,
Here comes Steve.
Phones beeping. So could we just take a minute? Maybe everybody could flip the silencer on their phones.
Please turn off your phones. First up, iLife. The blogs are a little ahead of our stream. So we're going to hear the iLife announcement
So that's the state of the Mac. Now let's move on to some new products. I'd like to talk about iLife. iLife is widely regarded as the best suite of sort of digital life applications in the world. And it's why some people buy a Mac. Because you can do amazing things with your photos, your videos, in music that you can't do on any other.
In fact, the image he's showing on the screen is 09.
With any other software.
That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we keep improving it every year or two, coming out with a new version, and it's gotten incredibly good. Well,
the new iLife 11 logo is going to be ugly.
Which is iLife 11. It's got the same.
So we invite those of you who want to hear a clean feed like Andy does to tune in to Apple's own stream, which is at apple.com at the very bottom. Watch the keynote live. We will do our usual job of covering it, which is always kind of a silly thing that we do. Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of a thing.
So you could go into full screen mode and do a few things in iPhoto. And the response
so now he's talking about
iPhoto
11.
That we're really fleshing out the full screen mode so you can just live full screen.
I think you know
Facebook enhancements coming too.
We've got a lot of Facebook enhancements.
Connects to Facebook,
where you can even more easily post to Facebook and even see people's responses back.
Do you think that there's any validity to the rumors that Apple might buy Facebook?
They have $51 billion, and of course Steve in his famous pop-in on Monday did imply that Apple was keeping their powder dry, I think is the phrase he used, watching carefully for investments. They could afford Facebook, which is valued at $33 billion. I don't think Facebook's for sale, however.
No, that's not going to happen. Phil Schiller is going to take us through iPhoto, so it's sort of a Steve as master of ceremony.
Yeah, we've seen this before. This is not unusual.
Letterpress cards as well.
I think they're constantly trying to work. You know, they're trying to transition to a point where people are comfortable watching these kind of events with
people used to
Steve, and someone other than Steve. And he's not going to be there forever. And I think he got very clear of that in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So Phil Schiller is he's taking the stage.
I get to be the first to show you this great new piece of software.
What I'm going to do is, so if you're interested in watching, I'm going to turn down the live stream and let you watch. We'll bring it up if he says anything important, but let you watch without the live audio and comment on it.
So yeah, if you want to hear our comments, put your live stream in a separate window. Yeah. You got us in the other one.
Yeah. I do keep the live stream around, and the reason is, first of all, that's the only thing I can hear.
Yeah.
But also, and I could turn it out of the stream. In fact, maybe I'll do that. I'll take it out of the stream, but keep it up.
Photo I'm looking for.
Blogs I'm looking at are a tiny bit ahead of that stream,
chronologically.
Too.
You see how fast and smooth they are? They use.
So if you're watching live on the stream, you won't hear audio. Those of you watching the recording after the fact will, and I think that's probably the best of both worlds.
But it's not just events. I can click on faces and now get a beautiful full-screen faces view. I see all the people in my photo library.
I think these are incremental, aren't they, Alex, Lindsay? There's nothing. There's nothing huge new.
I mean, they're nice. It's nice to add full. It looks like they spent a lot of time deciding that they wanted to make it full screen. Obviously, I love that they're building up more on the GPS stuff. I really do a lot with GPS and really enjoy the fact that they're adding features there.
And lots of cameras now have it built in, so it's including the iPhone 4, which has an excellent camera.
2 or 3 years from now, at least within 5 years, but probably within 2 or 3 years, every small camera is going to have a GPS capability.
I've never gotten the hang of using iPhoto. I've never taken advantage of it.
Have location information if I took them from my.
I made some books out of it for my parents with my kids, and it went over really, really well. it was a very, very popular thing to do. I mean,
I guess that's
so. It's an afternoon.
Letterpress cards is one of the new things.
Yeah, I like letterpress
iPhoto.
cards, but again, if you want letterpress cards, you can always go to your local.
Yeah.
And now that's all the photos.
These are all minor, but not unwelcome, but minor.
Takes a step out. Nothing
I think that's what I have to say. I think that's kind of what you're going to see all around. It's hard to make any major shifts these days in these products.
I think the major shift for Aperture and for iPhoto would be more editing tools, which they have been incrementally doing, but that obviously makes Adobe more uneasy, but adding more Photoshop-like tools.
They're pushing the geolocation today, too.
By the way, there's an acquisition that might be interesting if Apple bought Adobe.
I was thinking about it last night. I was like, Apple could buy Adobe and Autodesk if they felt like it.
Yeah.
Just because.
Now they're making music, the Trip thing. It's funny because I've seen these before. They showed it last time with 09, and I think cool. And then I never end up using any of it. It's one of those things where it's kind of
good
neat.
on stage.
Demos very well.
Slightly moving behind the photos.
I think about doing it. I travel enough.
I think about doing it. Yeah.
I don't actually do it.
Well, also the competition's doing a lot of this stuff too. So.
Well, and I think that also a lot of my photos still, because I'm taking them with the 5D, a lot of my photos just don't have GPS, and it's just another step I have to do before I would be able to do a lot of this.
Looks like we're going to spend quite a percentage of time on iLife.
Yeah, this is still iPhoto. This is the first demo.
More of those themes.
Which would lend itself to either no MacBook Pro refresh or a very unimportant, we've upgraded the hard drive options sort of thing.
They're commonly, they slipstreamed a MacBook update just in April. They slipstreamed Mac Pro updates a few months ago. These aren't things they normally have, lately anyway, have had events for.
And they very well may update the specs on the MacBook Pros 2 weeks from now and not even bother with it today. It's not part of the announcement.
The only thing that would get pretty exciting is if they did, in fact, add touch or some major new feature.
Yeah. iLife for Windows would be kind of a surprise. I don't expect to see that.
Yeah. I think it'd be very hard. A lot of the iLife apps are really based on a lot of the internal tools that Apple has built for OS X. So the core video, core photo, core animation, core, all of those, core services. It would be very difficult to move those, I think, to the Windows gracefully.
I always wonder who these people are in all of these iPhoto demos. Are they employees?
One year they used Ken Bereskin, who's Apple VP for OSs, did some beautiful photos of Antarctica. He's a great photographer, and they used his photos.
A lot of people in the chat room are noting that the full screen interface looks very iOS-like.
Ah, then that's interesting. iOS is full screen, isn't it? It eliminates menus. You don't even see a menu at the top of the screen, do you? In these?
Well, yeah, this would definitely move it. If you move to a touchscreen interface, you'd be able to very quickly, you know, browse through and work with all of this stuff.
That's intriguing.
Boy, they really
there's the
heavy with
Peanuts
the Vince
music.
Guaraldi today.
So that's just 3 examples of the great new templates for
Cut off rather quick.
slideshows built into iPhoto.
Enough of that.
So now we go back up to the
Let's move
top
on.
of the album view.
You know, I do use the email, the photo email from both Aperture and iMovie all the time. Just being able to click on something, I take a bunch of photos, I just simply just grab a bunch of them and hit email and send them to my wife. Usually, it's seamless. That is nice to have built in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if there's nothing about OS 10, or if the OS 10 is not called Lion, and that was just a
picture,
just to mess with you?
Inside iPhoto,
I wouldn't put it
it's
past him.
automatically created an email for me to send these photos off to my friends and family members.
You're watching live coverage of Apple's Back to the Mac event at Town Hall, One Infinite Loop in Cupertino, Apple's campus. Brought to you by our friends at Slingbox. Watch your TV anywhere you go, on a Mac, on a PC, on an iPhone, iPod Touch with Wi-Fi, even a BlackBerry or Android phone, using a Slingbox. Check out Slingbox at a Best Buy near you or at slingbox.com/twit. Right now, Phil Schiller, Apple president Phil Schiller, is on stage. He's president, isn't he? Isn't that his title? He's on stage.
He's VP of something.
He's on stage, marketing, I think, demoing the new iPhoto. We know at least this much. There is a new iLife 11. We don't know pricing. We don't know much about features, except that the new iPhoto is big on full screen and has letter set printing.
Sorry, he's a senior vice president.
Senior SVP of marketing, I think.
Now,
VP of
iPhoto
slideshows,
has
somebody said in
created
our
that
chat
email
room.
and sent it off to Steve, and I'm done.
He's sending
I've never
Steve
left
some
iPhoto
pictures of his
and I've
vacation
automatically
now.
mailed those photos
That's nice.
off.
Pictures
It's
of
really easy.
strangers from my stock photo.
I'm going to double click on this photo here and show you another new thing in iPhoto 11, which is I'm going to bring open the info panel. And like before, you see what camera this was taken in and the settings that you used in that photo. Now you see
The
a
Apple
beautiful
Store is
map of where
down,
the
so there's
photo
going to
was
be
taken.
a
And there's
product.
this new panel here called
Is it just
Sharing.
iLife?
Well, actually, that's good news. It means you'll at least be able to pre-order whatever they're going to announce today.
I've also published it on Flickr. I've also shared it on Facebook. And here are even friends
Becky
on
Worley is in
Facebook and
the
what they
audience
responded
right now and
back
in our
about that
chat room as
photo
well.
Right here
I see
in my
Veronica
info
in there
panel
too,
in
which is
iPhoto.
nice.
Hey, Veronica.
So it's a really
She's,
great
I'm
new
sure,
view
following
of
the
all my
gadget
social
feed,
networking
the live
around
blog
my
from
photos.
GDGT.com. I know Ryan Block's down there.
So that's sharing photos via email.
There's Randall Schwartz.
Now, what
This
if
is
I
kind of
create
like...
one of these great new books?
And in the audience today, Veronica Belmont.
I say hey.
Randall Schwartz. Let's say hello to...
It's like the Oscars.
Becky Worley. She's also in the audience, looking lovely in a Oscar de la Renta
And
gown.
here are 121 of your favorite photos you took on that vacation. And you want to share
Oh, God,
them
is this a
via
boring demo?
beautiful-
Yeah, and it's not going to get any better because we still have got GarageBand and
Select book.
what's the other?
iMovie,
iMovie.
GarageBand. Now, be interested, Alex, in an update to iMovie, because iMovie has been a product they started rewriting from scratch, and it was very feature poor when it first came out, and they've gradually re-added features.
Yeah, the last version was a pretty big jump. I mean, there was a lot of new features. You could have more than one layer. You could, there's some really good tools built in internally. There is, like the green screen stuff is really good, which no one knows about. And but there's also just a ton of
the shake adjustment is great. The steady cam thing, I love that.
Yeah.
But they are still. I think they're not done. I think they're still adding features to it. So you could expect a fairly large update for iMovie, whereas iPhoto and iTunes. We already saw the crappy update to iTunes to version 9, and GarageBand probably are fairly mature products. They didn't really do much. The last update to GarageBand added those lessons, which was, I thought, a great idea from big name, Sting and Stevie Ray Vaughan teaching you how to play instruments, and they never released very many of those. It was very disappointing.
I think the problem was if you look at the amount of control that they were kind of applying and how much they were really focusing on them. They were really trying to make them all these top-notch things, and that's great, but it's very, very difficult to do that kind of production in mass and get everybody signed up. And I think that was one of the real issues that they had when it all came down to it.
Will we see Jack Johnson again?
I hope not. Looks like the stream is frozen. Is your stream frozen?
My stream on the iPad's still good.
You're still moving?
I'm still moving. I was a little behind.
Oh, I'm really behind now. Let's press play. Maybe if I press play, something will happen.
Oh, pressing play? No. Won't work.
So they have I guess they have a new bookshelf that looks a lot like iBooks that you can see everything that you put together, which would be nice. I did find it a little bit, clunky as far as I started building more books, because I've been kind of putting together more books as we get ready for Christmas season. Putting more books together of the kids for the.
Is this in iTunes or in iBooks? You mean on the
iPhoto at your house or whoever you want to send it to.
I see. All right.
It's that
Here we
easy
go. We got it back.
to make a book.
Making your photo.
Now that I've made it, let's go back to this view. It's called the project view. This is another brand new full screen view in iPhoto 11.
You can see a little version of it.
The bloggers are starting to complain.
Why are they complaining?
They're bored.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't want to bore a blogger.
I also have cards in here. If I'm creating cards,
start a blog war
in the project view.
Well, this is really starting to come off like an Apple Genius bar sort of
very much so
thing. He's teaching you how to make a book.
Yeah.
Cards. I'll click through a few of these so you can see.
And now it's frozen again for me. Somebody in the chat room said, "Time for Angry Birds." I agree.
It's always time for Angry Birds.
Maybe I'll just play some Angry. Have you played Cut the Rope yet, Alex?
No, I've not played.
Don't
Cut
get
the
started.
Rope.
I do need to harvest my grapes now that I think.
Oh yeah, I've got pumpkins in my Wii Rule because of the Halloween update.
That's not a good sign, Apple. Not a good sign.
There's a live Team Coco stream.
That's right.
Team Coco's streaming this? Oh, no, we can watch Team Coco.
He's streaming behind the scenes of preparing for his show.
Oh, Team Coco.
They must be preparing for some sort of
sketch. A lot better than
sketch.
Phil Schiller.
We will keep you updated if anything does happen at the Apple keynote.
So apparently Tom Merritt is now launching We Rule. I see NG Moco on your screen. I'm going to teamcoco.com. I don't know about you.
Steve thinks it's awesome.
And Steve,
it's magical.
He thinks it's awesome.
I think that's awesome.
I think Steve's awesome. Steve Gilbert.
Let's go to their YouTube channel. They're streaming live on YouTube. That's interesting.
On YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is something YouTube's been gradually rolling out to some, not others.
Right.
Well, this concludes this portion of the Back to the Mac event.
Steve is back on stage.
Oh,
now.
Steve's on stage?
Yeah.
I can't tell because my okay. And Team Coco.
6, 7, grapevine right.
Next
up, iMovie.
They're getting in shape. See, I want to watch iMovie. I really do.
A great release.
I'm so upset that
so the Apple stream is down.
Well, it is for me. Okay. But to be honest with you, if this were Steve Jobs, I don't know if I'd be watching it right now. And going on.
Right, now twist it out. Right, left, right.
This is Team Coco.
This is what's going on behind the scenes. They're doing a morning, afternoon exercise.
And as you can see, the staffers who are in behind are really not.
Right.
I don't think they've ever done this before. The woman in front seems to have done this before. But look at the head on the girl on the stairs. She's like just barely.
She's like, why do I have to do this?
And those of you who tuned in for live
coverage.
I
went to Harvard for this.
Your projects together.
There we
in one
go.
place.
Steve.
So we're really excited about these new features.
Full screen modes, Facebook enhancements, emailing, photos. Now.
Next up. iMovie. This is a great release.
It's a
great.
Really? Is it magical and revolutionary?
The number one request we got.
I think we need fewer people
after the last version of iMovie was for better audio editing. And the team has gone above and beyond.
I actually hadn't really asked for that, but
come up with something great.
It needed it.
Yeah, I have to say, you're right.
iMovie is to be able to do extremely sophisticated editing.
Order of business, but
really simply.
One-step effects, people finder, news and sports themes, and movie trailers coming as well.
Again, these are all incremental upgrades. Of all the programs, this movie trailers, well,
it's movie trailer.
That's probably just a theme.
One-step effects.
One-step effects.
Remarkable. A people finder.
A people finder.
Help you find clips with people.
That's interesting. They're putting the face recognition from iPhoto into iMovie.
That's nifty.
And something we're really
so far that's all this thing is. A couple nifty things.
To construct movie trailers.
Well, I think there are some new features, audio editing and face recognition built in. Those are two fairly significant. The rest are, incremental.
Ubelos, who's our chief architect.
Of all the programs in iLife, though, this seems like the one that could have the most new stuff in it, right?
So now we're going to get Randy on.
Thanks, Steve. got some really
Alex
exciting
is,
stuff to show
The one
you.
thing that I think is interesting is I really think that the iLife team is not being constrained with you have to protect the pro apps.
Right. That's great.
You'll notice the audio
Access,
waveforms are
open access to all the technology
color-coded,
Apple
so
has,
it's
and they get
really
to push
easy
it as hard
to
as they can, as
see
long as they keep
those
it easy and they
portions
keep
of
it,
the audio which are
real
approaching
time.
the
Right.
And they even show up in red.
iWeb, yeah, you're right. Somebody in the chat room says, Jeff N. in the chat room says iWeb could stand some work. I think iWeb is, I've never recommended iWeb because it's really a locked-in solution.
All I have to do is grab the line here, and as I turn it up,
It reminds me of Front Page too much.
Yeah, it's not, it's hard to move out of iWeb. Ozzy, what do you think? Are you excited about the new iLife? We probably will make some movies with you in it.
It's all done live.
He's ready to start his show. He's going to use iMovie to edit.
Hey, I'm so excited.
Fades in, gets
So I will say that the display for the audio editing is pretty nifty.
I'm watching this. Yeah, this looks good.
Really easy. All I have to do.
We got a
select
waveform.
the segment of audio that I want to change, and we'll go ahead and play this back first before I change it. You can see that's pretty loud.
Yeah.
If I take this segment
Wondered what that
and
was
move
for a
it,
second.
You'll
Oh,
notice
he's
that
doing,
just that
some
segment
ducking.
gets turned up and down, and the color shows.
The audio's still
what's going on with
clipped,
the
but he's
audio.
ducking it.
I can also
Nothing
do
makes for a
fade by
great
dragging the
on-stage
fade
presentation
handle
than audio
here.
editing.
So if I go ahead and play this back.
Hey, I like audio editing. I do a lot of it.
I do it too, but it just
Gets quiet and
doesn't play well.
just the segment.
Now, remember, they make Soundtrack Pro, which is a fairly competent, actually very competent audio editing program.
In iMovie 09, we introduced
part of Final
video
Cut.
effects. Well, in iMovie 11, we've now got audio effects.
Audio
I
effects.
bring up my inspector. and when I click on the audio effects button,
Darth
gonna play
Vader
back the clip.
effect.
and all I have to do.
Oh, this is a gimmick.
That one
Yeah.
sounds pretty good. I'll just click on it.
You do that with a 99-cent iPhone
Go
app,
ahead and play
too.
that back.
But it's built in.
And it comes with a 3D chipmunk.
Nifty.
Single click, I get to make changes like that. We think people are going to have a lot of fun with this.
He's picking up the
Switch
jobs
over to a
patter
different
there.
project
We
here.
think
We'll show
people are going to have a
you
lot of
something called
fun.
one-step effects.
One-step effects. This is
Go ahead and
something
play back this clip here.
Steve highlighted. So he's playing back some video
cool.
with a
Double
bike.
jump on
Instant
these,
replay.
bicycles
That's
here.
cool.
And it'd be really nice if we did an instant replay on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select a segment here where they're jumping in the air.
Of course, Ken
Then
Burns
I'm going to come up
effect.
to the clip menu, and I'm going to choose instant replay and choose the speed that I want, 50%. And what iMovie is going to do is it's going to take that segment that I had selected, repeat it, apply a 50% speed to it, and then put an instant
So this
replay
was something
title
you could
onto
do
it,
easily
all in a
enough
single
with a
step.
couple of clicks in iMovie,
So
which
look at
is
this next clip.
an instant replay. You'd repeat the clip and slow it down, but this is a one-button click
Some
now.
more nice
Yeah, it's just
jumps
speeding.
there.
It's
This
you know,
one right here,
there's a heavy focus in iMovie on speeding up your editing process.
Right.
Taking things that people do fairly often and finding ways to really get it done quickly.
Right.
iMovie's going to go ahead and put in a fade-through white transition. Then it puts in a still frame from that last frame with a Ken Burns
Which is
effect
what
on
iMovie
it,
should do.
and then back into the moving video.
I'll show you the
So let's go ahead and take a look at that now.
really small screen. I guess I could do that. For those of you who are...
Certainly transformative and not undermining the marketplace.
Exactly, I'm transforming it. Those of you who are watching our meta coverage, you can go to apple.com and watch this live stream. We've decided for the live stream version of the show not to play any audio or show you the video, but let you do that on your own and mix us as you choose with Apple's own video. After the fact, the recorded folks are going to hear audio in the background.
Next thing I'm going to show you is movie trailers. When I bring down the new project dialog, in
movie
addition to the
trailers?
themes that we've had before, we now have 15 movie trailers.
15 movie
Bunch of different
trailers.
themes to them, a lot of variety.
Finish line,
And I can
road
go ahead and
trip,
just click on any of these
snow.
and get a preview of what it's going to look like.
So it
So
looks
you're
like
making a movie trailer?
yeah, high-def film.
Does it automatically have the movie trailer voice guy?
No. But
You
you
just
can
type it in and it goes, "In a world."
Exactly.
In a world.
So you get a nice preview there.
Leaving behind
I'll go
that.
ahead
So
and use,
the idea
24
is
frames
that
per second.
this
That's
is something you'd
also in
apply
the
to your
future.
existing movie.
Create, and I'll switch over to
That is totally a gimmick. I mean, some folks will do this for their home movies.
talking
for
like this
fun,
is not
but-
a gimmick?
Well, yeah.
Go ahead
Not
and
saying
play
it
back a
isn't
little.
either.
So he's turning this
It's some nice footage, but let's turn it into really amazing footage.
river rafting trip into amazing footage. This is the road trip.
The basic information about our
You know, this sells. You got to say this sells product. It's good. It's great demo fodder. Pros go, yeah, okay.
Well, but I have to admit that this is a free application that ships with your Mac.
Canuck Makem says he saw a FaceTime icon down in the title bar.
We had 4 people on this trip.
Say again?
Canuck Makem in the chat room says he saw a FaceTime icon down in the menu.
Interesting.
And we had Damien. And we'll set the gender here to male. And now we have where we can go in and put.
So you're saying our audio is too loud for you, even at minimum level? I can't help you.
Different studio logos. Go ahead and choose this.
Sometimes people really want personalized attention in our chat room. I'm sorry, I can't help you.
You get to fill in.
Just wait till you're older and your ears are worse.
Address book, so it's pulled my name out of here. I think that's good. We'll leave that there.
I'm really trying to figure out what they're doing with these storyboards. I don't quite follow.
I actually get to see.
This is way too complicated for average Joes to create.
They've got some nice soundtrack options recorded by the London Symphony Orchestra at the Abbey Road Studios. Again, nifty.
Let's go ahead and just take a little look.
Although everybody's going to have those now, right? You're going to get used to hearing them.
I also think that I don't think Apple is constraining iMovie in the long term to just the easiest application known to man. I think that they definitely are. I mean, if you got to remember Randy, who's doing the demo here. He wrote the original Premiere, Final Cut. Like I don't think he's interested in just making a consumer app. I think he's interested in making a real time.
I see the FaceTime. I see the FaceTime logo. It looks like an iChat. If you look at if you're watching the live stream, at the bottom in his dock, it looks like it's right to the left of right of Safari. It looks like an iChat logo with a little camera on it. That is definitely a FaceTime. I would say.
Exciting.
Yeah, that's interesting. As a standalone app, that's very interesting.
Yeah, CNET's live blog has a nice close-up of it.
You see it's all updating live over there.
Boy, this couldn't be more boring. Let's see what's going on at Team Coco.
We'll check back in with Apple in a moment, but first, an update from Team Coco.
It looks like they've set out a jigsaw puzzle on a card table where the aerobics were going on, and now somebody is coming up the stairs.
I'm going to move on to Wee City.
He's looking at the camera and continuing up the stairs. Apparently eschewing the elevator, which is an obvious view. Another intern climbing the stairs. I don't know which is more exciting, to be honest. The Team Coco cam.
I think Apple might have an edge right now, but it's close.
It's close.
Very close. Face detection tech from iPhoto
They've completely lost us on this movie trailer demo. I mean, completely.
You think iMovie would be the one?
I think the thing is that you have a lot of people who want to make something look really cool. They don't really understand the process of editing. They don't understand like what they should be putting in. And this is kind of this little guide. Like if you just follow, this is like your trailer, built, by paint by numbers. Just drop a person in here doing something. Just drop this in here doing something, and we'll figure it all out from there.
Some good editing tools in here. If you're not if you're not ready for Final Cut,
and if you haven't used Final Cut, I think the big problem that most of us have is that we understand how 3-point editing or how a basic layer-based editing works, and iMovie is completely not that.
Here's the close-up on CNET's blog from their Cover It Live coverage of the FaceTime. I would guess that's FaceTime. I don't know what else that
little camera thing.
A little camera.
Yeah.
Close-up shots down here.
It's certainly a new icon, and it's an app. It's not running.
Looks like we don't have a close-up.
I know for covering events and covering locations, and just being able to talk to people, that would be huge. I know
it's Skype though. But wait a minute, it's Skype.
Pulls up for me. And let's
but it's Skype video from your phone.
So it's Skype that works on the desktop and with the phone.
Yeah. So
or
you don't
if you have Skype on your phone.
You don't have Skype video from your phone yet.
Well, only because Apple prevents it.
Exactly. So it's the one tiny advantage that FaceTime can force itself to have.
I keep waiting for Apple to live up to its promise of open standards with FaceTime.
Yeah, Becky's been really on. She doesn't believe it's going to happen.
I don't think it is at this point. I think that's yes, they're using open standards, but are they going to open it up?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Especially if they make a desktop app, that's basically a shot across Skype's bow. Not that Skype isn't proprietary. It is. It's 100% proprietary.
Sure.
So he's still making the trailer.
Well, the trailer's running now, yeah.
And now the trailer. High-def films. In a world where there's a bridge, where the bridge never ends, and people are riding in a car, there's only one way to discover the water. Wearing life preservers and carrying yellow paddles.
If you go only down one river this year,
danger lurks around every corner.
Now, the thing is I think that one of the things to make this actually work is I think you really have to
excuse me, this is no different than you doing all the work yourself and adding your own titles.
Yeah, except that the average person won't know how to put that together. I mean, he
was doing it pretty manually. He had to pick the scenes.
But it's a real paint by numbers kind of thing. You're sitting there going, give us a close-up, because that's what the average user, I mean, I just see a lot of this. We all see a lot of it on YouTube, where they just don't know how to paste things or put things together. Now, the problem with all of the iLife stuff is that you don't have enough opportunity to have other developers really make it easy to have lots of these. If you had hundreds of options, it might be interesting. But the problem is that you're going to have 20 and everyone's going to use them.
Yeah.
They handle all HD resolutions.
Vimeo support, YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, CNN report, and podcast producer support. So exporting to Vimeo is a big deal. This is a shot against Google, right? Because all it did before was Facebook and Google. YouTube.
It's to everything. Well, I think it's just making it available to everything.
Yeah, but Apple with using Bing. I mean, I really think Apple has had it with Google, and they're going to do anything they can to dump
CNN's
on Google.
iReport is an interesting addition.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if CNN paid them for that.
Yeah.
And meanwhile,
we're getting the Three Friends rom-com trailer now.
Back at Team Coco, the security guard is coming up the stairs
to check on the puzzle. That's not Tom Merritt, by the way, if you're watching the videos.
Oh,
that's the security guard.
That's Team Coco. We haven't seen Conan O'Brien yet. Apparently, he doesn't come into work till 3, 4 in the afternoon.
That would be right. It's a nighttime talk show.
It doesn't start till November. Oh, and, well, one of the interns has eaten the puzzle piece. That's going to make it pretty darn hard, Tom, for them to finish that puzzle.
You're absolutely right, Leo. Completion rate just plummeted.
That's kind of a bad break for the puzzle makers.
Meanwhile, at the Apple event, they're walking across a swinging bridge.
3 friends, 1 journey.
Road to Tikal.
On an epic adventure, they jump into the water. They ride the magic wire. They walk across a tiny bridge. I do like the London Symphony Orchestra music.
That's nice, yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest feature here. But you've got to go to Machu Picchu to get this footage. That's the.
Now, again, I think that what you'll see is that while that would have been, it could have been done in Final Cut, or could have been done by hand, it would have taken a lot longer. I mean,
Steve's coming back on stage now for GarageBand.
That seems like a template more to me than anything. The road to Tikal. Yeah. I've been to Tikal. There is no road to Tikal. You've got to fly there. Unless you take a boat. All right. What is that guy's name? Randy
John
Ubuntu?
Mayer, Jack Johnson. Who's coming on for GarageBand, do you think?
Randy, along with his team, have invented all of this stuff. It's amazing. So, iMovie 11. And we think it's a real breakthrough, and we think people are going to have tons of fun.
He does, doesn't
rapidly being able to create stuff like this.
Here come the interns. They're about to
on Facebook, posting it on YouTube,
Coco.
posting it on Vimeo. It's going to be great.
Oh, he threw the piece back. That's good.
It didn't taste good.
In iMovie 11. We also...
This is what Apple gets when they don't allow us to rebroadcast the video.
GarageBand 11. GarageBand 11's got some great features.
Xander Soren from Product Marketing will be coming
timing
up.
And the rhythm in
on
your
stage
music.
at Apple, that is.
Something called Flex
Time.
Something called
This is actually
groove
something
matching,
my
as
son
well as a
wanted.
bunch of other stuff.
Flex Time?
In
including,
GarageBand. He had a hard time getting the beats and things to match up. So groove matching and Flex Time sounds like the kind of thing he was looking for. I just went out and got Logic Express instead. And
How Did I Play?
And some of this stuff does.
We think this stuff's going to be
feature.
How Did I Play is interesting.
More guitar
so
amps.
It's going to rate how well you're doing on the lessons. That's pretty cool.
A marketing manager.
Xander Soren now taking the stage to a demo.
I believe this is the first time we've seen Xander, is it not, Alex?
And Randy. I think you guys hit the nail on the head. They're really preparing the audience for a day when Steve doesn't do much at all.
We want to get used to these other faces.
Yeah.
So let's launch the brand new GarageBand 11, and it starts with a project chooser. We're going to open up an existing song.
So we're
now this brings up the part of the GarageBand that most people are familiar with. This is the canvas where you record and create your songs. Now imagine here that a group of kids have gotten together.
You're watching live coverage,
and they've recorded this piece.
Sorry about that noise in there. That's my that's Wee Doodle. I forgot to turn off the notifications for Wee Doodle.
So we'll play a little bit of it, and I think it'll be pretty obvious.
You've got friends.
Go away. You're watching. Look, this ain't CNN. Have you figured that out by now? You're watching live coverage. We do have a sponsor, though, of Apple's Back to the Mac event at the Town Hall in Cupertino.
Kind of a mess, right? Well, the problem here is the rhythm.
Brought to you by our friends at Slingbox. Slingbox lets you watch your home TV anywhere you go on almost any portable device, including iPhones, iPod Touches via Wi-Fi, Blackberries, laptops.
Drums are great.
Android. Check out a Slingbox at a Best Buy near you or at slingbox.com/twit. Now, so he's demonstrating flex time.
That are playing with good rhythm.
So he's got a rhythm track, a drum track.
By just bringing in some additional musicians.
And he's going to match up the existing tracks to the drum track, I guess.
Well, more likely he's going to make the drum fit the beat.
Right, those two guitars, they're all over the place.
Good.
They're having some struggles keeping up with the drums. But the great thing is that the groove matching feature, the new groove matching feature in GarageBand 11, will let us fix all of this with just a single click.
This is what Henry really wanted. This is
great.
So
as I hover my mouse over the left side of these tracks, you see the star appears. So I get to pick one track in my
phone. With auto-tune, groove matching, and of loops, you don't really even need to know how to do anything.
Look what happens when I click on the drums.
But that's been available in the professional.
Well, exactly. That's what I said. I bought him Logic Express so he could do this.
Logic Express and GarageBand are starting to get very
well, and that's Alex's point, is that they're not protecting the pro apps. They're letting these basic $79 all-in-one app kind of catch up to the pro apps. There's going to be, Alex, always, though, a gulf, I think, between these and pro apps.
Well, I think that there's an entirely different focus. I mean, one's focused really on the consumer, but it's not saying we're not going to put great tools into the consumer apps. It's just that they have to be simpler and easier to use than the pro apps. And the pro apps, obviously, are, for a very long time, are going to have a lot more features and a lot more. I mean, there's so much that we do in Final Cut that we couldn't even consider doing in iMovie. So that's going to be that way for.
There's a precedent for this, which of course is Adobe's Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. Photoshop Elements has much of almost all of the capability of Photoshop, but it's got these things that make it easier to do, right?
Yeah, but I think that when you look at how Adobe makes choices about what they put into Photoshop Elements, they are very careful about not doing things that would cannibalize Photoshop sales.
Meanwhile, back at Team Coco, the guy who ate the puzzle piece has regurgitated it, and now he and another intern are assembling the puzzle.
And there's a clock involved.
Yeah, the clock came in there later. She, by the way, tried to feed him another puzzle piece, and he declined.
The problem is that one of the guitars missed.
Xander is calling the groove matching an auto spell check for bad music.
It is something that, more than Soundtrack or Logic, I mean, we have done a lot of little show opens and bass things for, bass tracks and so on and so forth for a lot of the corporate stuff that we've done in GarageBand. It is the easiest thing to just throw something together, pull out a keyboard and throw a little bit of something original in, add a bunch of the other loops. And so it is a very, very capable application to do that kind of stuff on.
Becky Worley is noting that Steve Jobs actually sits down during these demos, and she's got a very nice picture of the back of his head on her Twitter feed. There it is.
Nice.
The back of
grabbing
Steve
his
Jobs'
bald spot. Very nice, Becky.
Head.
It's a really, really easy way to, ways to fix the timing of your song.
We're 43 minutes into the iLife announcement.
Oh my God, is this boring?
Love these new features.
I am dying here.
Well, we should have known because it is on campus that it's in the what is it? The lounge? What is it?
Town hall.
Town hall.
Piano and guitar.
This is why.
It's actually really interesting. Now, do they have this before, or is this all new? All these lessons?
And here you can see all the great lessons.
They had some lessons before. They've added more.
You know what? They've added lessons, and what they've stopped doing is celebrity lessons. So they have basic guitar lessons, not by a celebrity. I think that this is probably an admission that the celebrities, they got a few. The celebrities weren't really into it. Or they couldn't afford to get them to do it. And they were fairly expensive, too, weren't they? They're $5 or $6 per lesson.
Billy Joel and Elton John wouldn't do the piano lessons.
Let's take a look.
So now
they found somebody who's actually a teacher, probably.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about this. I'd like to learn.
Wrote this when he was just a kid.
This is great.
And he was learning how to play. So really cool. Now, as you can see in GarageBand, the entire
I know I don't take advantage of all of the things that I could do.
I was very excited
with
about the celebrity feature, the lessons, and I think this is a nice companion.
In this lesson, you'll learn how to play Mozart's
I think that the real missed
Minuet
opportunity
in
for
F
Apple, though, is to open this up, like build a format, open this up, and allow many people to build these kind of things, even if they're not the Apple-blessed versions.
Right.
Creating a way for people to develop them. I know we'd love to develop them for very odd, things like the Imbira or something that's very different. But
wouldn't that be cool?
Learn this at your own pace.
I would love to
No
see
pressure.
that.
Just at your comfort level, go through and learn the piece.
Well, somebody in a Borsalino hat is now assembling the puzzle at the
and now we're ready to
Team
check out
Coco.
How did I play feature?
The interns have given up.
Cheeto points out that TechCrunch is already reporting the FaceTime icon that we saw.
Of course they have. They jumped on that. They're huge. They're huge about that. I'm opening up my GarageBand now to look at what lessons are in the current GarageBand.
I think what we don't have in the current one is these real basics of this is how you play these chords.
I think you're right. And look, the lesson store is closed right now in GarageBand. So obviously they are going to add some new lessons.
And GarageBand will tell us.
This is pretty. I got to say that I'm looking at these lessons and being able to play along with the lesson is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I like this idea a lot.
How Did I Play is compared to Rock Band by Josh Topolsky over at Engadget.
A program called How Did I... No, that's a feature in Rock Band. How Did I Play is
a new feature in GarageBand.
We're going to see that right now, so...
Wow. This is...
So it is like Rock Band. You're trying to follow along.
Oh, there's a How Do I Play... Yeah, but... Okay, yeah, the new Rock Band, you're right. It has real instruments, doesn't it?
So he's doing good.
So he's playing along with the Mozart piece.
This is almost like the Magic Piano had this little thing where you could kind of follow along.
Right. But this you actually have to play the key, the actual keys.
I know, which is much better. This is that whole like Rock Band is like it's great, but man, if people were getting as good at Rock Band, if they were getting as good.
Well, the new Rock Band, Alex, has something a little more. They have real instruments and real playing instead of just kind of the rhythmic thumping of the buttons.
You suddenly got. I mean, if you made it a game and got that good at playing a guitar, it'd be actually really interesting.
Well, that's what this looks like, by the way. Xander did not play that, but they brought in a ringer.
This timeline shows you exactly.
Since we are covering this so much, are we going to cover the Nook announcement?
We played that okay.
Yeah.
And then over
They're putting new firmware on the Nook. It's a big deal.
Gerhard doesn't make a lot of mistakes in his life. So
this is the future, though. I mean, as someone who builds a lot of, like, working a lot of e-learning, this kind of training is really where you have computers do something that theoretically could be better than what a human could do.
Every time you
all right, Steve's coming back on
Maybe. I'm not sure I agree. I think a human is in many ways preferable.
Well, it's just that
But this is something cool for a lot less money and something you can do in your own spare time. And there's a progress chart. That's kind of cool.
iLife 11 will be free with every new Mac.
As usual.
Perfect 100%.
Nothing, no change.
So that's
Boxy Box shipping November 10th. That's good news. I got to get on that.
Yeah, I got my Amazon update to the shipping date.
Yeah. And apparently the Google TV from Logitech, the review is shipping soon. Yeah. I'm on that one.
$49 if you want to upgrade your existing Mac.
That's good. Certainly we'll do that. Thank you, Xander Zorn. Steve Jobs back on stage.
So, GarageBand 11.
Not wearing a purple shirt, but I am. I just want to point that out.
You know, we have
he didn't have a purple turtleneck.
5 million
Thank you. You're wearing purple, too. I like that. I like that.
I think the one thing we can say is we can hem and haw over all of this, but are you going to upgrade? I'm going to upgrade.
$49, you bet.
Yeah.
But I upgrade every time anyway.
So, iLife 11. iLife 11, all this amazing engineering.
That was the rumor that Chilingo was going to be bought, and EA did in fact buy Chilingo. They're a distributor that distributes, among other things, the Angry Birds program. They're not the developer of Angry Birds, that's Rovio, but Chilingo does distribute that as well as Cut the Rope, which is currently the best-selling Apple.
Next up, Steve is going to talk about FaceTime.
So no updates to iWeb.
No updates. Well, at least no announced updates to iWeb or iTunes, which was already updated. Or Didn't they take iDVD out? Isn't it now built into iMovie? Or
I think it's built.
Is it?
Or iTunes, I think.
In addition to.
I think they killed it. I think they said plastic is dead. Something about plastic not being.
Working on this stuff, Gerhard.
I like the new iLife logo. It's kind of a cut paper or watercolor logo. It's very pretty.
Greg is the engineering manager for
and you see 4 icons. You see Photo, you see GarageBand, you see iMovie, and what was the 4th? There's nothing in the 4th. It's just an Apple.
Can we do FaceTime calling to the Mac? Yes. Now you can.
Everybody on his team. We've got some brilliant people working on this stuff, and they're constantly amazing us with this. So that's iLife. Next up, I'd like to talk about FaceTime. FaceTime's pretty remarkable. It's really the first
Tom is
video
watching a
calling
real-time
on mobile
update that
devices.
is ahead of the video.
My
and
screen
audio
is ahead of
playing.
me, too. I'm ahead in time.
In September,
You are? Should I refresh?
We brought it
I want
to
to
the new
refresh.
iPod Touch
already
with its
in
front-facing
FaceTime.
camera.
Well, I'm in FaceTime
And
now
since
as well.
then, in the last 4 months,
Jeez Louise.
we've shipped 19
Let's
million.
refresh. You're watching live coverage of Apple's Back to the Mac event from the Town Hall in Cupertino. So far, they've announced a new iLife, $79. If you don't have iLife, $49 for the upgrade. And, of course, it comes free with all new Macintosh computers. Steve Jobs back on stage
you don't have
now
to populate a special
talking
buddy
about
list or anything
FaceTime.
else. You can have favorites and, of course, your recents.
And
you
a
just
FaceTime desktop
pick somebody,
application.
click on them, and you initiate a FaceTime call. Whether it's with another Mac,
Which means you can call
an
another
iPod
Mac,
Touch,
you can call
or
an
an
iPod
iPhone
Touch,
4.
new
Still using
generation,
having
or an
and it
iChat.
even
iChat around?
does full
Still
screen.
around?
People use
So
it.
we're
It hasn't
really
been
excited
updated
by
in
this,
ages.
and rather than just talk about it some more, let me give you a demo.
All right.
Steve's going to do the FaceTime demo.
Who's he going to call? Phil Schiller? Yes.
On my Mac here, we've got our new FaceTime logo right
You
here.
think that FaceTime is just a replacement for
And I
iChat?
just double-click on it.
Well, it needs
And,
text
what
if
I'm
it's
gonna
going to be
do
a
now is
replacement.
just
And it
go
doesn't do
to,
one of the things that
favorites.
iChat does, which is
And here's Phil
multi-call
Schiller.
conferencing.
Hey,
And,
Steve.
I'm
Phil
just gonna go
Schiller.
ahead and initiate a call with Phil.
It's interesting because the display of FaceTime desktop is the aspect ratio and shape of an iPhone,
Hey, Phil.
which it has to be, of course, so you'd have a big
Hey.
frame or border
Hey,
around it.
what device are you on? Are you on a Mac?
But it's kind
or
of
one
odd
our,
on a desktop
phones or-
to see a phone shape cut out on your desktop.
Yeah.
I think that's a limitation. I have to say,
Well, listen. Why don't you go ahead and turn your phone into landscape mode?
Okay.
So,
And it does
obviously,
rotate
I don't
into
wanna turn
landscape
my whole
mode.
display, so FaceTime on Mac just turns the display to match the phone.
I'd like to see full
Want to
screen.
turn it back? So, again, this is so simple. There's nothing to set up. There's nothing to configure. That, it's a very simple demo.
That's it for the demo, huh? Available on apple.com today.
So now, the tens of millions of Mac users are going to be able to FaceTime with
I'm
iPhone
running my
4s
software update just to see if
and,
they've pushed it on
iPod
software
Touches.
update.
And I think people are going to like this based on
It's a
the
beta,
requests
so they
we've
may
got.
not put it through the
Hey,
regular
thanks a million,
update.
Phil.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, no full screen apparently.
Okay.
I don't think this is going to supplant
Well, that
Skype unless you want to call
is FaceTime for the Mac.
iPhones. They're really pushing
Now,
FaceTime, and they need to
maybe
because
the
right
best
now with
news
FaceTime you
is
can't do much
that we're
except
going to release
if
a
you have
beta
on
release
an
of
iPhone
FaceTime for Mac
or an iPod Touch on Wi-Fi.
today. So you'll be able to go to
So this does
apple.com
expand it.
and
I am very surprised you couldn't go to full
beta
screen. Maybe they
release
just didn't
this
show
today,
it full
run it on your
screen.
Mac, and
I think the issue is
FaceTime calling with,
the aspect
over
ratio.
19
It's that
million
weird
users
portrait
on
mode.
their iPhone 4s and their iPod Touches. And there's the
And
new
now
logo,
we're off
right?
to OS 10.
Finally,
So
let's
we're
get to
excited
OS
about
10.
that.
53 minutes in, we're finally to
Now.
OS 10.
I can't find it right now on the Apple site, and it is not showing up as you
Next up,
suspected. It's not showing up.
The entree for today.
The entree for today.
We want to give
What's
you
on the
a
menu,
sneak peek
Steve?
A sneak
at where
peek
we're going with Mac OS 10.
with OS 10. So this
And, as you know, we've had 7
it will be called
major
Lion.
What about
releases
Puma?
Cheetah,
of Mac
puma,
OS
jaguar,
10
panther,
in the
tiger,
last
leopard,
decade.
snow leopard, and
I don't think anyone
Meerkat.
can match
No,
that
it's-
track record.
Meerkat.
And we've been
It's
improving
definitely
it
Liger.
with
Skunk.
every major release.
Liger would be
We're really
great.
happy with Snow Leopard.
Somebody pointed out you have to have
But we
Lion
know how to
first.
take it even
Then you
further.
can have Liger.
And so today, we are going to give you a preview of the 8th major
The
version
8th
of
wonder
Mac
of the
10.
OS 10 world.
And we call it Lion. Mac
It
OS
is
10
lion, and it's a beautiful lion,
Now,
I might add.
what is the big idea? What is the philosophy
Putty cat.
behind
That would be good.
Mac OS 10 Lion?
OS 10 Putty cat.
Well, that's where
All
Back
right,
to the
he's
Mac
going to talk
comes
about bringing iOS stuff into
What we've done
OS
is we
10.
started with Mac OS 10, and we created from it a version called iOS.
We started with OS
which
10
we
and
used
created
in
from
the
it
iPhone.
a version called iOS, which we used
And
in the
we
iPhone.
invented some new things.
iOS coming back
and
to the
we
Mac.
I think so.
perfected
Yep.
it over the
That's what
last
back to the
several
Mac
years,
means, yeah.
and it's now used in the iPad as well.
So he's got
They're all
arrows.
sitting on
What we like
DS
to do
He's got a little
is we're
recycling symbol
inspired
here
by some
from
of the
Mac to
innovations
iPhone to
in the
iPad.
iPad and the
But there's
iPhone.
got to be an arrow
We'd like
coming
to
back
bring
to the
them
Mac, I'm
back
thinking.
to the Mac.
Yep, back to the Mac.
And so that's what Lion's about.
Lion is about
Mac OS 10
OS
meets
10
the iPad.
meets the iPad.
There's a lot of innovation in Mac OS 10. User features and a lot underneath the hood. But at a high level, these are going to be some of the most exciting things. And we haven't got time to show you everything today, but we wanted to
we're taking
give you
Flash
a
out of OS 10.
philosophy behind it and show you a few of the key features that we're working on. So
That'd get some,
what exactly
that would
is
get some attention.
that we have learned and become inspired by on the iPad? Well, multi-touch gestures. Multi-touch gestures.
Now, we have had that on the
really
Magic
important.
Pad and on the Magic
really
Mouse.
On the Mac too.
So that's not necessarily significant unless it's a touch screen. App Store, that's interesting.
So will the apps from iOS be able to run on OS 10? That would be cool.
Why not the Mac too?
To me, this might be a regressive feature. You know, the Apple Mac is an open platform, as any PC is.
All their apps on them.
As long as it's additive.
And as long as it's additive.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I would like to run Wii Rule on my
full screen apps, app home screens, App Store.
iPad is a full screen app. And sometimes,
I got a bad feeling about this, Indy.
Sometimes that's great on the Mac too. We've seen that from the work that we've done as an example in iPhoto.
Apps resume when launched. I want to hear him talk about that.
iLife 11.
I have a very bad feeling about this. I think this could be a regressive step on Apple's part, back to that, you know, closed proprietary, quote, safe environment where they make more money.
Well, as long as it's just an environment and it doesn't take over the entire thing.
And initially it will be, of course.
They auto-resume. They come up
I
exactly.
see what you're saying.
I think this is the future for the OS 10 platform.
That's what I'm afraid of. Apps resume when launched, so they remember where they were, which is something you have to have when you don't have multitasking.
So how is he going to do multi-touch?
Let me talk for a few minutes about a few of these.
It's going to start with multi-touch gestures here.
Multi-touch gestures. You know, the first thing you think about is this, right? We thought about this years ago. We've done tons of user testing on this, and it turns out it doesn't work. Touch surfaces don't want to be vertical.
Touch surfaces don't want to be vertical. This is true.
You don't want the gorilla arm.
But after a short period of time,
he says after a short period of time you start to fatigue, and that's a number of people have made that point to me over the last few days. You don't want touch.
It doesn't work. It's
on a vertical screen.
Terrible. Touch surfaces want
so they're going to push this Magic Trackpad.
Hence pads.
Hence pads.
So your iPad will be
for a notebook.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's why we've perfected our multi-touch trackpads over the years. Because that's the best way we've found to get multi-touch into a notebook. We've also, in essence, put a trackpad, a multi-touch trackpad
now
on
he's
the
talking
mouse,
about the trackpad.
Magic Mouse. And we've recently come out with a pure play trackpad as well for our desktop users. So
this always seemed like a product waiting
for
the other shoe to drop, this Magic Trackpad.
This doesn't work. The App Store.
So basically,
what's the solution?
His solution, all he said is it doesn't work. Multi-touch doesn't work. So I think he's saying we're not going to do a touch screen is what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
On the iPad, it's phenomenal as well. Now, how do we know this? Because
I'm a little confused.
over 7 billion apps have been downloaded
this is a long
from the App
setup.
Store. 7 billion. There's never been anything like this that we've seen in our careers. And so we'd like to bring it to the Mac.
Yeah, we would. We would like to make more money on all applications.
We'd like to have a 30/70 revenue breakdown on every app you install.
Yeah, we would like.
It's going to be the best place to discover apps.
To close off the app.
They already have this. They have a software download store. They're just turning it into the App Store interface and taking a cut.
You know, I don't have any problem with that as long as it doesn't close off open apps.
And I will say that as an app developer, I would love to just put it into the App Store.
Yeah, well, that's the crack. But that's the crack, Alex. That's how they suck you in. That's.
I know, but it's just, I got to tell you, e-commerce is a pain in the butt.
What about open source, though? I done a lot of free stuff. As long as this doesn't
best
touch
place to discover apps, one-click downloads, free and paid apps, automatic installation, automatic app updates, apps licensed for use on all your personal Macs. So they are really pushing hard on an app store here.
Does this mean you're going to have to log into iTunes and authorize Macs and all that to use this software?
App Store. And when you get your apps,
that's the big announcement.
You're going to have a single place to put them, which is the Launchpad.
Launchpad is going to be the interface to this.
Home screens for your apps, just like on the iPad. So that's the first three.
I don't really care about that. I don't like that.
And the last three we're doing as well, and I think you can imagine those. So,
you know, I mean,
there's one other thing we'd like
this reminds
to
me of Dashboard.
We have these 4 cool inventions.
Well, they're going to use mentioning Expose, full screen apps, Dashboard, and Spaces.
Expose, a great way to find your windows and do window management.
Yeah, Ozzy, I'm not happy either.
Dashboard, a great way to get to widgets instantly.
It makes more money for Apple, Ozzy,
Full screen apps,
and they can make it safer.
And Spaces, if you want to create.
No, it's better for you, Ozzy.
Well, this is again why I would love to see Apple license their older operating system, or make it, you know, like.
But as
let us
we've added
dream on, Alex. You keep talking. That's never
I'm going to keep on dreaming.
Wouldn't it be great to?
I'm going to keep on looking at the sky.
Steve is saying, wouldn't it be great to unify Expose, full screen apps, Dashboard, and Spaces into something they call Mission Control?
Everything running on your Mac. And instantly
I'm telling you,
navigate
this is all about closing down the Mac.
So what we'd like to do now is, even though we have tons of new
in the
features
long run,
Lion,
I think
we've picked out a few of them, and we'd like to give you a sneak peek today.
And
Craig Federighi is going to come on.
If this succeeds, of course, Microsoft's talking about the same thing.
Of engineering for Mac OS 10.
And it can be pitched as a response to security flaws. These apps auto-update just as they do on the iPhone.
I want to be able to take an app I've downloaded from my iPad and use it on my Mac. That's the only thing that's attractive to me. Otherwise, I don't want anyone having control.
There's a real problem with that, which is that the iPhone is an A4 ARM instruction set, and it's not an Intel instruction set. So I don't think that's going to happen.
For the iPad, and we brought it to the Mac. I can get to the App Store right here on my dock.
Okay, the App Store has its own app. It does not have an iTunes
I have access to the new
requirement, which is good, although it looks just like iTunes.
I see what's hot.
I can get to the App Store right in my browser.
The beta test, I don't want this. But at when I think about my kids and my parents and how they handle apps and what the complexities are with it, I can definitely see why it would be easy.
Sure. It's the secret to the success of the iPad, isn't it?
I'm looking for something specific. For
instance, it looks very much like the App Store on the iPad. But again, if you're a developer, this is not going to be. It may have some form of universal, but it's going to be tricky because it's a very different instruction set. Of course, you're doing it with Xcode, so they could create universal binaries, I suppose. But you got different resolutions.
Well, I don't think this is. I think this is just for the Mac. This is a different. This isn't.
That's what I think too. This is not going to take iOS apps onto the Mac, despite the implication.
And Jobs did say that App Store won't be the only way to buy apps.
He
just thinks it's the best.
So far,
and I gotta say that as a developer, it would be great to not have to deal with people's installation issues.
Yeah, so far, I think this is the crack you give developers.
Yeah.
I get these customer
and
ratings.
They're going to smoke it.
Can I have an open source program that I give away for free?
He says free programs, yeah. But
well, can it be open source or is
who approves apps in the App Store?
Yeah, right.
You're not going to see
this is a real App Store app,
programs that Apple doesn't want on here.
Downloading a real copy.
So he's downloading pages from the App Store. You do get reviews, you get comments. It's exactly the same as an iTunes App Store, but not iTunes. It looks like.
Creating my first Pages document.
And he's got Pages running. Just that easy.
So that's the Mac App Store. We think developers and users alike are really going to love it. So next up,
I don't know about this mission control thing either. So I've got two different systems for deciding how I launch applications now. That's confusing.
I really think this is the camel's nose under the tent. They really do want to. There's the Launchpad. You see a grid of all your apps, very much like the Finder grid from the dock, except there's no background. It's just their apps are floating there. You click it. Yeah, it's a definite move towards a simple Finder in effect.
You can make folders in it. Well, I can make folders on my Mac right now.
Gesture on my mouse or trackpad. I can just flick my way to other applications.
You can flick through it on your trackpad.
Flick it.
My games, so forth.
This appeals to the same people who buy iPads. It's a very simple, unified interface. It's secure. It's updated automatically. It's very straightforward.
The other crack that it is for developers is it's very hard to pirate. You know, if you move to this from an app developer's perspective, everyone's paying for what they're using.
I want to create a productivity folder. I just pick up
Well, it's easily cracked though.
Drag it on top of numbers.
Maybe.
Let go, and I have a folder. I can add.
It's much easier to protect.
You make folders the same way you do on the iPhone.
Pick it up.
That's what's ridiculous.
I'm going to throw up now.
Just like that, I created a folder. So that is Launchpad
coming
in Lion. Next up, full screen apps.
I'm not denying it's slick. I'm not denying it's well done and well executed. And I'm not denying that both developers and end users will love it. What it means, however, is a closing of the universe.
I think it's
I'm not
confusing.
happy about.
I don't understand what the.
It's confusing in the interim.
User.
That's, well, wait a couple of years when Apple says, you know, it's been confusing. So what we're going to do is eliminate the Finder.
Sweeps open into a gorgeous.
The Finder was always confusing. We never liked the Finder, so we're getting rid of the Finder.
Steve has been clear. He hasn't liked the Finder for 5 years.
Yeah, this is the end of the Finder eventually. Not now, right away, but soon.
But what's really great about full screen in Lion is that I don't have to leave full screen if I want to go work on something else. I can do a simple multi-touch gesture on my mouse or trackpad, and I'm right.
It's a very different computing experience, but it's really responding to the popularity of the iPad.
Super simple.
I hate to lose the choice of a full desktop computer. Now, of course, maybe I'm an old-fashioned old fart, but
fantastic full-screen experience. I
didn't think I could give up email, but now I find email, like my kids just are like, oh, we don't SMS, and I'm finally slowly moving that direction as well.
My preview document.
Jeff, and I understand I'm not losing that now. Everybody's all upset. Oh, you're not losing anything as choice. Well, it is for now. I think it's a Trojan horse. Yeah, it's a camel's nose underneath 10. It's moving towards the world that Apple envisions, and Apple's always been clear.
Do you care about full screen apps?
I also love working with Windows.
No.
Any app can be full screen.
Wait a minute. He just said I love working with Windows.
So,
lowercase w.
I'm going to open up some windows. We have App Store here. I'm going to open
So he's pointing out that you haven't lost windowing.
iCal, iTunes, and let's say a Pages document here. So I can, of course, flick between these different experiences here, like this.
It is really a reinvention of the user interface. It's a reinvention of OS X. There's no question about that. I would suspect that the Finder is soon to go.
Full screen apps.
We have unified.
When we say soon, probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. It's on the This is 6 months off itself, I'm sure.
Although they never, even with OS X, where they hid the directory structure, you could still get to it. You could still use terminal. So it's quite possible that this becomes the dominant paradigm, but you still have a way to get back underneath.
Yeah, I think they would realize that dumping terminal would irk a large segment of people initially.
My desktop, and along the bottom.
But I think Apple would. Well, you know what? Apple probably says, look, 10%, 20%, 30% are going to use terminal, but the vast majority of the unwashed masses, just as they love the iPad, are going to love this. The silent majority are going to want this. This is the future.
Negativism be damned.
That's right. This is what people want.
I think that I've always felt that Apple really focuses on what I call 90-90, which is what will 90% of the people do 90% of the time. And that's what they spend all of their energy on. And they just kind of say, well, the 10 to 10 is somebody else's problem.
I want to find that App Store window. I can just flick in. And you see there's App Store right there.
See, I never use Expose. I never use Spaces.
It's really easy to find.
I find them annoying.
I use Expose a lot, but not Spaces.
Even better.
I almost never use Expose or Spaces. Actually, I use Spaces a lot more.
I use
Alt-Tab mostly. I do use Spaces when I'm virtualizing. I'll put Windows on one, I'll put Ubuntu on one, and then I'll
If it worked better, it would work nicely.
Pick the window I want and bring it right to the front. So that is Mission Control. And that's your sneak.
I like the name Mission Control.
A few features coming.
Makes me feel important when I'm using my protected apps.
Thank you, Craig. We're really
very
excited.
interesting.
Steve is back on.
Huge shift here, really.
Bringing some of these things back to the Mac and coming up with some very fresh new things like Mission Control is going to really delight Mac users.
All right, here we're going to get a release
date.
This is where you reassure.
A whole new way of getting apps with the App Store.
But we're never going to get rid of
finding and launching apps with Launchpad. Being able to work in full screen and move between full screen apps effortlessly. And then moving
they're
back
really
to
reinventing
Windows,
the UI.
And, of course, Mission Control. And again, I wish we had another hour and a half to show you more.
There was a debate very early on in GUIs
we'll unveil this,
between tiled windows and overlapping windows. And Steve was very much of a tiled window guy, is my understanding. And then overlapping windows won.
Summer.
And summer 2011. So it's more than 6 months.
And developers open 90 days from now.
So that.
This, in a way, to me, is going back to the tiled window interface.
Oh, Mac App Store will be available on Snow Leopard in 90 days.
About the App Store. The Mac App Store is
you can start submitting your apps in November.
Really great for our users.
If you'd like to give away 30% of your
we don't want to wait for Lion. So we've decided that we're going to put out the Mac App Store.
You know, if you, as a developer, if you're doing your own e-commerce and you want someone other than yourself to manage your sales and distribution, you're really talking about 20 to 25%.
Developers can go to our website and learn all about it today. And we are going to be accepting app submissions from developers in...
You know, we were skeptical when Apple announced the App Store for the iPhone. There were those who said, oh, developers aren't going to want to give up 30%. That seems like a huge cut. And it's obviously been very popular with developers. So I would imagine the same thing with this.
From a user's perspective, you have the same issue is that you want to buy stuff. It's just easy to buy. You know, it's the reason I buy everything from Amazon.
Point of access.
Amazon now has the barcode, and I can walk into any store and sit there. And I'd rather order from Amazon while I'm traveling because it's boom, 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 one click, it's there.
Well, and I have to say, wait a minute. We love the Mac. We're investing heavily in the Mac.
It's a
33% of our business, $22 billion.
More numbers. Are we starting over?
No, this is the reassurance that I was expecting, which is we're not abandoning the Mac.
Share has topped 20%.
This is the tell them what we've told
them.
The first time.
That's you know, showing the hands when I used to wrestle, there was always this thing where you put your hands out like this.
Couldn't be happier.
And you'd move in like this, and if they were focusing on your hands, you would get in to do a takedown.
It's the misdirection.
And they're putting their hands up like this, like the Mac is going to stay there, and they're going to move in.
It's misdirection.
Phenomenal.
We're going to get our one more thing here shortly, it seems like, if we're going to get one.
Full screen
This is it. If they're going to announce a MacBook Air, it's now or never. I don't think they're going to.
There is one more thing.
iMovie 11. You can imagine how we're all going to use this.
It's much like Steam, but
do
you
want me not to spoil it?
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Millions and millions of GarageBand users.
We're listening live.
Even cooler things they can do now with their compositions and in learning how to play instruments. FaceTime on Mac, so that the tens of millions of Mac
he's
users
recouping.
can now FaceTime
recapping.
with mobile
FaceTime.
devices. We think this is going to be very popular. And Lion. Coming this summer.
Coming summer 11.
With amazing features like
App
Mission
Store,
Control,
90 days out.
the Launchpad, and the App Store.
Mission Control, Launchpad.
And with the App Store opening within 90 days from today. So this is...
They're going for the gold. This has been very successful for them, very profitable.
We're really excited
You really should kind of continue to pursue those.
But there is...
One more thing.
One more thing.
All right.
And...
so I guess we are getting the air.
One more thing really comes back to our theme for today, which is back to the Mac.
A new Mac.
You know, we talked about this virtuous circle with Mac OS X helping to create iOS for our devices, that maturing, being on the iPod as well, and now being inspired by that, bringing some of that back to Mac OS X. But just like that philosophy has some benefit in our software, it can also have some benefit in our hardware.
Wouldn't it be great if an iPad had a keyboard?
What would happen if a MacBook met
What would happen if a MacBook met an iPad?
There's a lot to be inspired about there as well. Well, what are some of those things?
What are some of those things?
An iPad has Instant On.
I'm going through the checklist that Steve's giving us.
That's pretty rare for a notebook.
Instant On, unless you've turned it off.
Great battery life.
You know, great battery life.
Amazing standby time.
Amazing standby time.
30-day standby time.
30-day standby time.
Solid state storage.
Solid state storage is a
So
new
there's no optical, hard drives.
No hard drives.
And
what does that sound like?
It's thinner
and
light
lighter, equals
which
more
means
mobile.
it's even more mobile.
It's an Air.
These are some
but no
great
touch screen.
things
It's an
for
updated
notebooks.
Air. 10-inch Air,
so
11-inch Air.
Asked ourselves,
I think that's probably what we'll see is a small Air.
What would happen if a MacBook and an iPad hooked up?
What would happen if a MacBook and an iPad hooked up? Steve says.
This is the result.
It would fit into an envelope.
It's one of the most amazing things we've ever created.
It's a new Air.
It is our new MacBook Air.
MacBook Air.
And we think it's the future of
We think
notebooks.
it's the future of notebooks.
We're really excited about this.
How big is it?
It is gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. I know,
Let
Steve.
me just show you a few beautiful shots of it.
Wish I could show you this.
3 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
well, that's
nothing
the current
we've
MacBook
ever
Air is 3
created
pounds,
before,
isn't it?
and it's
2.9.
It's really stunning.
Yeah, we know. It looks good.
And it's really small.
Really small.
It's
7 inches.
amazingly thin.
Amazingly thin.
At its thickest point.
0.68 inches at its thickest point.
It is 0.68 inches thin. At its thickest point.
Not that thin.
And it tapers down to just
0.11 inch. So it's actually a sling blade.
Thinnest point. That's a 1/10 of an inch.
Some people call it a Kaiser blade or a MacBook
and it weighs
Air.
just 2.9 pounds.
2.9 pounds. All right.
Now,
yeah, I know you know
really,
all this already, Tom.
It's hard enough to build something thin, but we also want our products to be rigid and durable.
It's hard enough
and so
to make it thin, but we also want it to be rigid.
Unibody construction.
Okay, unibody Air.
Complete aluminum unibody construction.
Well, except for the lid.
It's pretty amazing.
Oh no, the lid's part of the unibody.
It's got a full-size keyboard and a full-size glass trackpad. These are areas
keyboard and
where
trackpad.
you do not want to sacrifice.
These are areas. This is their response to the netbook.
So let me tell you a bit
only
about
3 times more expensive.
The first thing is it's got a 13.3
inch screen, LED backlit. So it's the same size as the Air, essentially.
1440 by 900
which is a good resolution.
This is more
Very high
pixels
res.
than are on our 15-inch notebook today. More pixels than on the 15-inch MacBook Pro. It's got a Core 2 Duo processor, which is a fast processor for this class of machine, and great graphics.
GeForce 320M.
Nice graphics. Full-size keyboard,
multi-touch trackpad.
Full-size multi-touch trackpad, and a FaceTime camera.
FaceTime camera. They're calling the cameras FaceTime, not EyeSight anymore.
Yeah.
Just as interesting as what it's got.
FaceTime is the new name for the EyeSight.
What it doesn't have.
What doesn't it have, Steve?
Tell us what it doesn't have.
There is no optical drive.
No hard drive, no optical
and
drive.
there is no hard drive. We have gone to flash storage, complete solid-state storage.
Remember Steve on Monday when
Now,
asked
why
about Flash
do we
said,
do
we
this?
love Flash memory.
Because we know the benefits
and he's
from the iPad.
Showing it here.
Instant on.
I have to say, I love when I put a flash drive into my MacBook Pro. I put a Corsair in there. It really did make a huge difference. Apple has not traditionally used the best solid-state drives,
especially in a mobile
so it hasn't benefited from the speed. Maybe they'll do that this time.
And it's 90% smaller and lighter. Again, very important in a mobile environment.
How much is this thing going to cost?
It also gives you
It's
completely
$15.99,
silent
I guess.
operation.
$17.99. No, $17.99.
Now, we know a lot about Flash. We've designed it into our iPhones.
We know a lot
We've
about
designed
Flash.
it into our iPads.
Memory.
And as you may know, Apple is the largest
Apple, he
user
says, is
of
the largest
flash
user of
memory
flash
in the world.
memory in the world. We can thank them
So
for
we
the
know a lot
increasing
about
cost of
creating
flash.
storage.
A lot of people in the chat room are guessing under $1,000 or less than $1,000.
Boy, I don't
Battery
think so.
life
There's no way they could
on
do
the
this for
MacBook
that.
Air.
I think $17.99.
Wireless web tests.
Which was the price.
7
I'm going to guess
hours.
$12.99.
$12.99?
I'm going to go right split the difference.
Standby, 30
7 hours
days.
on the web, 30-day standby.
30-day standby time instead of the few days we get with today's notebooks.
So it's got an iPad battery.
Now,
I'll tell you what, if it's
the
under
wireless
$1,500,
web
I'll buy
tests
it.
As well, you know, we've
You hear that, Steve?
Steve, give me a deal on that.
Battery tests
I'm going to write
sometimes
down a
don't
number.
reflect
You write down.
real
Yeah, there
world
you go.
results. And we're moving towards
If it's
some more
$12.99,
stringent
I'd probably get
tests.
one, even though I have no need for
that
this.
really we think are going to get us much closer to real world
I'm addicted
results
to large
on
hard
battery
drives, so this isn't
tests.
going to work for me.
And even using these more stringent tests,
Of course, I just bought a
we're
Mac
getting
Pro.
7 hours of wireless web battery life.
7 hours
Our
of
previous
wireless
MacBook Air,
web
using the
battery
old,
life.
more liberal tests, got only
Pretty good.
5.
Compared to 5 on the old
So
MacBook
we're
Air.
really happy with this improvement in battery life.
He's saying
we
about
think it's
a
a
50%
double
increase.
improvement, not only from 5
He
to
says
7,
double.
but with, we think, much more realistic.
I'm not sure how
testing.
going from 5 to 7 is double, but he says it's double.
So,
and if Steve says
what's
so,
inside this puppy?
Hey, I've seen that picture
Let's take
before
a
on
look.
Engadget.
it is the same, isn't it? It's the Engadget.
We
It is the
have-
Engadget device.
Flash storage.
Flash storage.
Again, we don't put it inside a big
That's the
SSD
Engadget
container.
device
We
that we saw
put flash
last night.
basically right on the board.
So
That's
flash
how we do
right
it
on
in
the board.
iPad, the iPods,
Just like the
iPhone.
iPad.
802.11n,
So there's no separate
Wi-Fi,
drive. It means
wireless
it's not
networking.
upgradable. It's just the way it is.
There's our
obviously.
Core 2 Duo processor,
Sandy,
and our
Core
graphics
2, GeForce
processor,
320.
If the 13-inch MacBook
Our
Pro is
memory,
$1,000,
stereo
do
speakers,
they make this more expensive, or do they
and our
match
battery.
that?
Is that how much
You
the
see what
13-inch
biggest
Mac
thing is.
existing
the
one
base
It's
price?
the battery.
Well, they dropped the price then.
We
'cause
take
it
out
wasn't-
the battery.
It wasn't
Yeah,
you
last
can
time they
see
dropped
how
the price,
small
they did that.
The
I
electronics
think using
are. That's
flash
an
memory was going to
entire
reduce the price under
high-performance
the
Mac.
SSD.
I'm sorry,
You know
not
what I mean?
Pro,
Tiny
but the
little
Mac.
board. We've taken everything we've learned about miniaturization.
Oh,
from
you're talking about the MacBook.
Yeah, the Mac.
Yeah.
iPods,
The Air itself was, I
iPhones,
think,
and iPads.
$12.99 and
It's been really
$17.99.
expensive.
Yeah. I think it was even
We're
more.
really,
for a-
really excited about this.
Looks just like an
Now,
Air. How big is the drive?
this 13.3-inch
He hasn't said
MacBook
yet.
Air isn't the whole story.
He says
it's
it's
a
not the
flash
whole story.
drive, so
Because
we
it
know
has
it's not going to
a
be.
younger brother.
There's a little one. There's a little one.
In addition to the
there's a 13 and a 10.
It's got a younger brother.
Its younger brother
11.6. Now this I'm interested. This is Merlin Mann's 10-inch is back.
Smaller.
I'm sorry, that sounded filthy.
Lighter.
Which is 11.6 inch too. Let's not short him.
2.3 pounds. Now this one I'm interested in.
It's also an amazing product.
This is interesting. This is really small. This is their netbook.
It's got
Core
all
2,
the
320,
things
full-size
that the
keyboard,
13-inch
multi-touch,
has.
FaceTime camera. It's the same
Processor,
machine
video graphics,
with an
full-size
11-inch
keyboard, even on
screen.
a smaller unit. Multi-touch trackpad, FaceTime camera.
This is the one I've been looking for.
Of course, it has an 11.6-inch
11.6
backlit
inch
display,
LED backlit.
and also
1366 by
high resolution. This is more
768.
dots than our 13-inch MacBook Pro has
He says
today.
higher resolution than the 13-inch
So high
MacBook Pro.
resolution,
That's good.
widescreen,
I'm liking this.
11.6-inch display.
This is the
And it gets a battery life.
5-hour wireless web.
Wireless web, again, using those same more rigorous
So
tests.
much less battery life. Of
And
course, you
the
got less
same
space.
30
days
days
standby.
of standby time.
Look at that. I hit it right on. No.
So,
did you?
I'm ahead of you.
what are we going to price these at? We've tried to be really aggressive. We see these
He says,
as really the next generation.
We're really aggressive
of
in the
MacBooks.
pricing. We see these as next generation
We
of
think
MacBooks.
all notebooks are going to be like
We
this
think
one
all
day.
notebooks are going to be like this one
And
day.
so we're going to start off the pricing for these new MacBook Airs.
$999
for the 11-inch.
And $999
So they
gets you
did
the 11.6
for the 11.
inch model
That's remarkable.
with 64 gigabytes.
64
of flash
gigs.
64
memory.
gigs. That's plenty.
It's the top
If you
end
want
that
to
they could
double the
afford, I'm
flash to
sure.
128.
$11.99 for 128.
$11.99.
I think you should see this
essentially
essentially as.
Slightly faster processor for $100 more at $12.99.
Oh, you can get a faster
And if you want to
processor on the
double the
13,
storage again, the
186 with
256
128, $12.99. These are
And all
aggressive
these
prices.
models include
$15.99 for the
2 gigabytes of
13-inch with a 1.86
Pretty
good
gigahertz
for the
and
256
gig.
So from $9.99
All have 2 gigs of memory.
to $15.99. The
Store
new
is closed
MacBook
right now,
Airs.
which sounds to me like
We
they
think
will
these
be
are
at
very,
least
very
offering these for
strong
pre-order, if not
Right.
purchase.
And of course, they meet our environmental checklist.
Energy Star, mercury
They
free,
are
arsenic
Energy
free.
Star 5.0, mercury free, arsenic
That's
free.
pretty
glass,
aggressive pricing, I'd say.
BFR free, PVC free.
Can you get away with
still get a
64
net-
gigs?
Highly
I think you
recyclable
can. They've been
clear
saying,
aluminum
yeah,
glass.
well, it's a lot more than a netbook.
And they
even
also
at $9.99.
meet EPEAT Gold standards. So
Available
these are
today. Okay,
great from
that's
an
good news.
environmental
There you go,
and
Leo.
toxics point
Are you
of
going to
view.
get it?
Absolutely. I think I'll get the little
So
one.
we're really excited.
Let me get the
about these
cheapest
new
one you can
MacBook
get,
Airs.
right?
And I'm really pleased to say that both of them are available starting today.
Starting
Dan Ackerman
today.
at CNET notes that an Acer 11-inch timeline with Core i7 is $899.
Yikes. Yikes. Hackintosh that, baby.
So we made an ad. And if you'd like, I'd
We
love to
made an
show you
ad,
the
so
ad.
now we're going to see the ad
Why don't we roll it?
for the little Air.
Now, he
Little
called
bitty
these the
Air.
next generation of MacBooks.
That's very telling,
Does
too.
this mean no more MacBook Pros? Are they?
Well, he says we think someday all notebooks will be like this.
I feel the way you feel about the App Store about that.
Come down.
Because I like the MacBook
I think they
Pro
go
as a
hand in hand, to be
machine.
honest with you. It's thin. He's holding it with his fingers. It's the Netbook Air.
The next generation of MacBooks.
I think I'll get the little one. I can stick it in my pants.
Real simple.
No, $1,000 is expensive, especially
And we've
compared to
also
the
made a nice
PC
video
choices.
that I'd love
2
to
gigs
show
of
you.
RAM's not a lot.
Kinda
You're basically
summarize
living in
everything we
a
talked about the MacBook
low and slow
Let's go
environment.
on that
It's
too.
Apple's netbook. The question is, can you play it? What pants? Somebody asked. Can you play it? Can you play back Hulu Plus? That's all I care about.
We wanted to design and build
Johnny
an
Ive.
incredibly mobile product, but without compromise.
So we built a little tiny notebook.
Everything that we've learned designing really powerful notebooks, and everything that we've learned designing really
He really
small
looks like he
mobile
should be,
devices
and sounds like he should
culminates
be,
in the new MacBook
in
Air.
lock, stock, and 2 freaking smoking barrels.
The MacBook Air would probably not exist as it does now if it weren't for the things we've learned with iPad. We've learned how much customers care about this multi-touch user experience. We know they care about all-day battery life. Took a lot of great ideas. They informed us.
Looks
in
like
where we
one
should go with
USB
our
port,
notebooks.
contrary to the
Sometimes when you
rumors
walk
there'd
away
be
from
2. I can't see the other
technology, it can
side.
lead to a breakthrough. And that's what we've done with MacBook Air. We've designed
The
completely
320M.
flash
We should get Ryan
That's
Shroud
allowed us
on to
make
talk
a
about the
product
NVIDIA
that's instant
320M.
on, longer battery life, silent operation, much smaller and thinner and lighter. All that happened by having the courage to say we're going to base this product around the flash technology. The key thing we've learned is touch is extremely important, how we interact with our software. If we had tried to build it into the display, we discovered that
it's interesting, not in the display, but they are going to use the multi-touch gestures everywhere
in the air and trying to multi-touch.
They're very defensive about that. We didn't want to put it in the display, folks. You don't want that.
You don't want
glass multi-touch trackpad right below the full-size keyboard. We've done all
the 320M is what's being used in the MacBook right now.
The 13-inch MacBook Air.
This is basically a MacBook
6-8 inches at the rear
with a slower processor and the same amount of RAM, the same video card.
For the first time ever, we've made an 11-inch MacBook Air. It's just as thin, but it only weighs 2.3 pounds. These are the thinnest and lightest notebooks.
So if you bought the white MacBook, you'll have similar performance to that.
And while it is really challenging designing something that's this thin and this light, it's really, really hard to design something that's also strong and robust and this precise.
Yeah, the white MacBook is 2.4 gigahertz.
With features from a single
so it's a little slower, but otherwise comparable.
Parts to a single one that is not only very thin.
So it's interesting. The unibody, they're including the screen as part of the unibody.
There is something about how
it'll be stiffer. It'll be rigid.
It's just not enough local storage for me.
That makes this.
And there's no
even 256 is 256 is enough.
256 is okay. I actually have a 650 that I'm getting close to filling up here because I like to keep all my video and all my audio local. Well, yeah.
I think that I gave up on that.
So yeah, me too. Me too.
Storage of all my media is on an external drive at home, and I just
I carry a little OWC 750 gig.
So we can
plug it in. That's where my photos are, and that's where my music is. And then 64 gigs is enough, isn't it, Alex?
What?
That would mean 64 gigs would be enough in that case.
Yeah, I still need. I mean, I have. I have about 200 gigs on my 256 gig drive, and that's about. And I'm pretty comfortable with dealing with client issues and downloading what I need to and everything else.
Think of this as kind of an upgraded iPad. It's not.
Yeah, well, that's how they pitched it.
Yeah, it's for surfing. It's got some basic stuff on it, but you're not going to use this to do much more. Just a program note. Right after this, we will go into Mac Break Weekly. We'll let you go, Tom, because I know you have to get ready for TNT this afternoon. But Andy Ihnatko and Alex Lindsay will join me. Becky Worley probably will join us from the demo room. I'm sure they'll have a demo room with these new Airs.
Maybe she can FaceTime in from one of the demos.
She's planning to.
No, I mean from one of the demos.
Every single part is designed.
Oh, yeah, instead of
from a MacBook Air.
Unfortunately, I don't have FaceTime yet on my
right.
On my Mac, on my desktop.
But she could call your phone.
Let's see if they're offering it yet.
We set a really high bar for what people should expect a Mac to be.
You're watching breaking news coverage of Apple's Back to the Mac event. Just to recap, by the way, thanks to our friends at Slingbox for bringing us, letting us bring this to you. Watch your favorite TV shows when you're away from home with Slingbox. Check out Slingbox at a Best Buy near you or visit slingbox.com/twit. To recap, Apple has announced a new iLife 11, which really focuses on iPhoto, iMovie, and GarageBand. Really, in fact, it seems like those are the three apps in there. They don't even mention the other apps. I don't know. I presume iWeb will continue, but who knows? They also announced a FaceTime desktop application available in beta right now. They talked a little bit about OS X Lion, which will feature an app store. That app store will come out in beta in 90 days, but OS X Lion, summer of 2011. And it will feature kind of an upgraded mission control that will be designed for the App Store, combining features of Expose, Spaces, Dashboard into one unit. And then finally, two new MacBook Airs.
I want you to get your hands on it, so we've got a hands-on room set up right across
there's
the way here.
There's a hands-on room, so Becky will be going over there.
For all of you to be able to go touch one of these and use one of these yourself, and I think you're going to be pretty amazed. We certainly are, and we hope our customers are. So, there's a lot of stuff to cover this morning. We really appreciate your coming, and we'll see you over in the hands-on room as we get back to the Mac.
So that concludes our live coverage of Apple's event. Steve Jobs leaving the stage now. It is almost exactly as some predicted, although I don't think anybody predicted two MacBook Airs, a little one and a big one. Pricing starts at $999 for a 64 gigabyte drive and an 11.3 it was 11.6 inch screen with a Core 2 processor at 1.86 gigahertz, 2 gigs of RAM, and the NVIDIA 320M motherboard graphics that is currently in the white MacBook. Checking in again on Team Coco briefly. Looks like they're still working on the puzzle.
You're eyeing up something.
And that's about it. So, you know, I think in a way we've combined two features with the Team Coco update and...
Always giving you more for your money.
Andy Ihnatko is here still. Alex Lindsay was here for the coverage. Tom, do you want to take off?
Yeah, I'll see you.
And thank you, Ozzy, for joining us. You can go with Tom and work on TNT 2:30
Ozzy, you
today.
want to be on the Tech News today?
Who's going to be on TNT this afternoon?
It's just me and Becky.
So Becky will be giving you her direct impressions of the new MacBook Air. She's there right now at the event. In fact, we'll get her a little bit later on FaceTime.
And Jason, of course.
MacBook. And Jason Howell. And the laughter continues with Team Coco.
Would I know that?
You see the problem with it though? Is like it's all green.
There it is. It's all there. Light green, dark green, forest green.
So as we reposition, once again, I do want to thank our friends at Slingbox. Slingbox lets you watch your home TV anywhere you go on any portable device, including, I presume, a MacBook Air, certainly on a MacBook, iPhone, iPod Touch with Wi-Fi. There's BlackBerry and Android and Windows 2. Here's how it works. You go to Best Buy, you purchase a Slingbox, bring it home, you hook up your Slingbox to your TV, to your DVR, your satellite or cable, your DVD player, and then the other side of the Slingbox, you hook up to your internet connection. Now, you're done. Wherever you go, a hotel, in line at the DMV, a ball game, you can watch your home TV setup, no additional fees, because you already paid for it on your Slingbox. You can watch live on your TV, pre-recorded shows from your DVR. You can even program and control your DVR. Sports, news, movies, anything that's on your home system. It's pretty cool. If you haven't tried the Slingbox, I highly encourage you to go to a Best Buy near you and look at a demo or buy it. Just buy it. It's not expensive. Plug it in and do it. Find out more at slingbox.com/twit. Thank you, Slingbox, for bringing us, letting us bring you the live coverage of our Back to the Mac event.